Welcome to the Tech Guy channel. My name is Brian Nexted, and today we're going to talk about loading Windows on an Orange Pi 5. So on docs.thetechguy.com, I have a full step-by-step guide that walks you through loading Windows on an Orange Pi 5. Today we're going to walk through that guide in detail so that you can see it in action. So everything we're doing today is based on the Windows on R project, which was originally created to load Windows on a Raspberry Pi, but they have since expanded that to include the Orange Pi 5. So if you flip over to their website here, worproject.com, they have a lot of information on their site. They have a guide as well, but it is a little bit dated. I have some more current information in my guide. They have how you can contribute to the project, how you can donate to the project, how you can get support through a Discord channel. So if you click on Get Started, you can get to their guide on how to install. They do have some information on what works and what doesn't work. Most of the hardware does work. The horizontal USB ports don't seem to function properly. So that is an outstanding issue, but everything else seems to be in good shape. So let me flip back over to my guide here. So for this project, you will need some hardware. Obviously, you'll need an Orange Pi 5. I do recommend adding a heatsink with a fan to keep the temperature down, as these boards don't like to run hot. You will need a USB hub because of the limitation of the USB port. Only the vertical port works, so we'll need the expansion there to hook up a keyboard and mouse. My USB hub is USB-C, so I'll need a USB-C to A adapter. This is just the hub I'm using. Other hubs may work. I didn't really test multiple hubs, so just be mindful of that if you do run into issues, just use a different brand. Same thing with NVMe drives. Not all brands are supported. I've had good luck with this brand here. And then also be aware if you're using an M.2 SATA drive, it is not supported at all because there's no drivers for it. And then the Orange Pi 5 doesn't come with any type of screw set to screw down the NVMe drive, so I have a screw set I recommend here. You will need an enclosure because you'll need to be able to hook that NVMe drive up to your Windows machine to actually load the operating system. And then obviously you'll need a USB keyboard and mouse to navigate on it. So I'm going to put the guide off the side here. All right, so step one will be installing a UEFI firmware on the flash. So the first thing we'll need to do is download RKDevTools. So we'll do that here. And then we'll also need to download a driver. And okay, so we'll go ahead and extract this using 7-zip. Then we'll go ahead and extract the drivers using 7-zip. And then the driver will need to be installed, so we can go ahead and open that folder and launch the driver install. We'll need admin rights, and then we'll just click install driver. Okay, that's all done. Okay, next thing we'll need to do is we'll need to download the UEFI firmware. So if we click on this link here, we'll be brought to GitHub. For this, you most likely will need to log into GitHub to do the download. So you have a couple different options here. For this, we'll just take the main release here. But if you want, you can download a more current build of it if you're looking to troubleshoot something. So we'll click this, and we'll scroll down to Orange Pi 5 UEFI release image. Okay, we'll download that zip file. And then the last thing we'll need is the SPL loader. So we'll go ahead and download that bin file. We don't need the image file, just the bin file. Okay, that should be it for that. Go ahead and extract that UEFI firmware. Actually move that to the root here. All right, let's clean this up a little bit. So we're done with this. We're done with the driver. Okay, so now we can launch Arcade DevTools. We can right click in the white space here and do load config. Let's see, we're right here in the guide. And we'll load the ROC 5B, SPI NOR. And then we'll need to select the individual files. So for the loader, if you click in this blank space here under the three dots, it'll bring up a file explorer. Go to our downloads folder, and we'll load the bin file for that. And then for the actual firmware, we'll load the image file that we downloaded. We'll need to check write enabled. And now we're set to connect the Orange Pi 5 to the PC to flash that firmware. So when connecting the Orange Pi 5 to the computer, you'll need to hold down the mask ROM key to enable you to write the firmware. So I have power connected here, and then this USB-C port in the middle, I have connected to the PC, and then you just need to simply hold down the ROM key while powering it on. And then what you'll see in the Arcade DevTools is found one mask ROM device. So if you see no device found, simply power it off, hold down the mask ROM button, and power it back on. It should be pretty quick. Then once all that's set, click on the run button, and it will start to flash the firmware. And once it says download image OK, it's all set and the device has restarted itself. So we're all set to disconnect it from the PC now. Since we're done with Arcade DevTools, we can go ahead and close that and proceed on to the next section. We will need to download some Windows drivers. All right, so let me get those opened up. For the first one here, you will need to log in to Discord channel to get that driver. So Windows on R has a Discord channel with drivers, and then they have those drivers pinned here at the top, or you can click on my link, it'll take you directly to it. So we'll download that signed driver. And then you'll need the storage driver. So you need the PDB, INF, and sys. have. Smart screen may pop up. Just go ahead and keep the files. And then we'll download the other ones as well. And then download the USB driver. Okay, once we got all those downloaded, I'm going to go ahead and combine them all into the zip file. So we'll just open up the zip file in 7-zip. And we'll just drag all these in here. Okay. Then we can get rid of those and we're just left with the zip file. Okay, now we're to the next section, which is getting the Windows 11 ISO file. All right, so we can open up UUP dump. We can select what release type we want and then the architecture. So I'm going to go with a public release in ARM64. So it's going to be Windows 11 23H2. So we select that, and then our language, English. We do not need Windows Home. Click Next. And we want to download and convert to an ISO file. So we'll click that. It'll download this zip file. And then we'll need to extract that zip file to a directory that does not contain spaces. So in this case, let me extract this really quick. And just verify that my path doesn't have spaces. It doesn't. And then, so this is just kind of the config files. We'll actually need to run the UUP download Windows command file to actually generate the ISO file. So we'll go ahead and open that. And we'll let this do its thing. It does take quite a while, so just let it run and it will complete. So see you back in about an hour here. All right, so just checking in. We can see that it's proceeding, and we'll check it again in a bit. Okay, so the ISO has been created. Let's check that out. So here's the ISO file in the same directory that we launched batch file from. Okay, the next step is to install the ISO on the NVMe drive. So let's scroll down in our instructions here. So we'll need to download the imager utility to write the file. So if we open that website here, we can download the latest version. Just ignore that it says Raspberry Pi. Like I said, this tool was expanded to include the Orange Pi. So we'll go ahead and extract that. So download and extract, plug in the NVMe drive. So we'll need to use the enclosure to plug that in. Let me do that real quick. Okay, so I have that connected here. If we open up disk management, we can see we have it connected here. So one WOR is admin. So you will need to change this to show all options. And then for this, we'll need to choose Raspberry Pi 2.3 and select the NVMe drive. Now we'll need to select the ISO file. And our only option is the Pro build, so that's good. And then for this, we'll need to select that driver zip file that we created, or I guess added files to. So that's right here, the RK3588. So for this, we can just select use latest. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to be used. And then for here, we can just accept the default settings. Looks good. So it just gives you a summary of your settings and then click install. And this will take a little bit. So I'll come back when this is finished. Okay, so that was pretty quick. Took about, I'd say less than 5 minutes. So we'll go ahead and click finish here. So now we're done with this. And our next step is to remove the NVMe drive and install it into the bottom of the Orange Pi. Okay, so let's power on the Orange Pi and see how it's configured. So we can hit escape at the boot menu. And we can see here that we have a UEFI firmware installed and the version up in the upper left. So let's continue the boot process. So we can see the Windows progress wheel going. Then after a few minutes, Windows will start configuring itself. This process takes about 30 minutes for the configuration to finalize. So the last step is to complete the UBI process. Once you complete the UBI process, you can configure Windows just like any other device. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough.